Warren Buffett once famously remarked that he read between 600 and 1,000 pages a day when he was first starting out, attributing much of his success to this relentless quest for knowledge. Bill Gates, another titan of industry, reportedly reads around 50 books a year, discussing them at length in his personal blog. Even Oprah Winfrey has praised the transformative effect of reading, mentioning how books helped shape her vision and propel her forward. Why does reading matter so much for building wealth? Beyond the clickbait headlines and quick-fix financial hacks that flood our social media feeds, books provide something deeper: context, proven philosophies, and insights drawn from real-life events and challenges. If you flip through the life stories of self-made millionaires and billionaires, many reveal that reading was, and continues to be, a non-negotiable part of their routines. In this video, we'll list 5 must-read books that can make a major impact on your journey to greater wealth and financial security. When people talk about books that changed their lives financially, they often mention Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This modern classic by Robert Kiyosaki isn't just about money management. It's a philosophy of how to see money, work, and life. Kiyosaki grew up with 2 father figures: his real father, whom he calls his poor dad, and his best friend's father, his rich dad. The contrast in their approaches to money, education, and career choices form the backbone of this book. One of the most important lessons here is Kiyosaki's explanation of assets and liabilities. While most people might think of their house or car as assets, Kiyosaki questions that assumption. He argues that an asset is something that puts money into your pocket, while a liability takes money out of your pocket. It's a deceptively simple explanation that has forced countless readers to rethink their monthly expenses. Kiyosaki recounts how his poor dad, who was highly educated and worked a steady job, struggled financially because he followed a conventional path: get a good education, find a secure job, buy a house, and rely on a pension. On the other hand, his friend's father, the rich dad, had a less traditional education, but a knack for understanding how money flows. He invested in real estate, built businesses, and consistently reinvested his profits into revenue-generating assets. This strategic shift in mindset, from focusing on being employed to focusing on creating assets, is a game changer. Kiyosaki doesn't simply say, quit your job and become an entrepreneur. Rather, he emphasizes how critical it is to think like an entrepreneur, even if you have a regular job. When you view your money as capital to be invested, rather than as a means to buy consumer goods, you begin to see opportunities everywhere. He also highlights that true wealth is measured by how long you can maintain your current standard of living without working. If you've built a portfolio of assets that continuously pay you, e.g., rental properties, stocks that pay dividends, or royalties from intellectual property, you have a sustainable stream of income. One of Kiyosaki's friends, for instance, took the real estate lessons to heart and gradually built a successful property portfolio over a decade. She started with a small condo, then moved on to duplexes, and eventually owned multiple apartment complexes. This real-life example underscores the value of consistent learning and disciplined reinvestment. Kiyosaki's teachings haven't just changed personal fortunes, they've also inspired countless people to host workshops, build investment clubs, and even start their own businesses. If you're seeking an accessible introduction to the mindset needed for wealth, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is an obvious choice. It's less about detailed financial instructions and more about a fundamental shift in how you perceive work, money, and opportunity. Published in 1937 during the Great Depression, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill has influenced generations of entrepreneurs and self-made millionaires. It remains one of the most recognized personal development books of all time. Hill was commissioned by steel magnate Andrew Carnegie to study the success habits of over 500 wealthy men and women, including Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and John D. Rockefeller. Hill's primary thesis: riches begin with a burning desire. A goal so vivid and persistent that you can't help but find a way to achieve it. This wasn't a pie-in-the-sky approach. Hill analyzed real people who had taken their dreams and turned them into tangible success. One particularly striking example is the story of Edwin C. Barnes, who famously declared that he wanted to be Thomas Edison's business partner. Despite having no money or influence, Barnes's unshakable intention eventually led him to form a partnership with Edison. Proof, Hill says, that a focused, unwavering desire opens doors. Desire alone, however, isn't enough. Hill speaks extensively about having faith in your ability to achieve your goals. This faith isn't blind optimism, but a self-confidence forged from clarity of purpose. If you fail to believe wholeheartedly in your aspirations, you're likely to be derailed by the first setback. And as Hill details in numerous anecdotal stories, some of the wealthiest individuals found themselves at the brink of failure before they triumphed. One of Hill's most cited concepts is the mastermind alliance. The idea that aligning with like-minded, resourceful people can exponentially increase your potential for success. Think of Henry Ford, who surrounded himself with some of the greatest engineers and business minds of his era. Or Andrew Carnegie, who credited much of his fortune to the brilliance of his partners and advisors. Hill argues that when two or more people coordinate their knowledge and efforts in harmony, the output becomes greater than the sum of its parts. In today's digital age, it's easier than ever to form your own mastermind group, whether it's through local meetups, online forums, or Zoom calls. The principle remains timeless. Surround yourself with individuals who challenge and motivate you, and watch as your perspective on what's possible expands. Think and Grow Rich is more than a book. It's a blueprint for those willing to consistently visualize, plan, and act toward their financial goals. Its pages are filled with references to real events and people who risked everything and, through persistence, claimed success. If you feel stuck or overwhelmed by how to start your wealth-building journey, Hill's masterpiece serves as a riveting motivational guide. Unlike many get-rich-quick books or tales of flamboyant billionaires, The Millionaire Next Door is about ordinary people who quietly amass extraordinary wealth. Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko conducted extensive research on millionaires in the United States, and what they found defied typical stereotypes. Rather than living in upscale neighborhoods, driving luxury cars, and flaunting designer clothes, many millionaires live below their means and avoid expensive status symbols. One of the most intriguing aspects the authors highlight is the power of frugality. Instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses, these millionaires focus on saving, investing, and mindful spending. In fact, many millionaires interviewed in the book Drive used cars, wear affordable watches, and live in middle-class neighborhoods. They might own businesses or hold positions in the corporate world, but they rarely let their lifestyle escalate with every raise or windfall. One fascinating example is a man who owned a chain of small laundromats. By all external measures, an older car, a modest home, unbranded clothing, he appeared to be solidly middle class. Yet over decades, he accrued a net worth that placed him in the millionaire bracket. He consistently reinvested profits into his business and diversified into index funds and local real estate. His secret? Time, patience, and disciplined spending. The authors talk about certain people who like to look rich, but aren't. They lease high-end cars, max out their credit cards on lavish vacations, and display the trappings of wealth. But these folks often have no substantial savings or investments, the big hat, no cattle phenomenon. Meanwhile, genuine millionaires quietly build their financial base in ways that might go unnoticed by the casual observer. Ultimately, the Millionaire Next Door teaches that living below your means and investing wisely can yield huge results over time. You don't need to have a six-figure income to start. What matters is how much you keep, not just how much you make. By focusing on modest living, methodical saving, and disciplined investing, even moderate earners can accumulate significant wealth over the years. The book also warns against the pitfalls of trying to maintain appearances. Many families find themselves saddled with debt because they're caught in an endless cycle of chasing the latest car model, the biggest house, or expensive gadgets. The Millionaire Next Door serves as a much-needed reminder that the path to wealth is often paved with pragmatic decisions and a long-term lens. If you're serious about growing wealthy through the stock market, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham is an absolute must. Originally published in 1949, it has guided countless individuals, including Warren Buffett, arguably the world's most successful investor. In fact, Buffett once remarked that reading Graham's works was one of the luckiest moments of his life. The core concept is value investing. Buying stocks of fundamentally sound companies that are priced below their intrinsic worth. Graham believed that most investors fall prey to market hysteria and emotion-driven decision-making. His strategy involves deep analysis of a company's financials, ensuring that you pay less for a company's stock than its true value. Over time, as the market corrects itself, these undervalued stocks tend to rise in price, delivering solid returns. One of Graham's most influential ideas is the margin of safety. Even if you find a good company trading below its estimated value, you have to factor in uncertainties, changes in market conditions, unexpected downturns, or errors in your own valuation. The margin of safety ensures that even if you are partially wrong, you minimize potential losses. For instance, during the dot-com bubble in the late 1990s, many investors poured money into tech companies without examining their fundamentals. Stocks soared based on hype, not on real earnings or feasible business models. When the bubble burst, millions of investors lost their life savings. Graham's philosophy would have labeled most of those stocks as too risky and overpriced, steering the intelligent investor away from peril. By emphasizing patience and due diligence, Graham's book helps you develop a mindset that's incredibly useful in volatile markets. Rather than chasing trends or jumping on the latest hot stock, you learn to analyze financial statements, study market history, and take a measured approach. If you've ever wondered how Warren Buffett manages to stay calm during market crashes, often seizing the opportunity to buy more shares of undervalued companies, much of that serenity stems from the lessons in The Intelligent Investor. This book can be somewhat dense and technical compared to other titles on this list, but the insights you gain are invaluable for anyone serious about building long-term wealth through the stock market. While the previous books tend to emphasize patience, traditional investing, and long-term wealth building. The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss offers a more contemporary take on financial freedom. Published in 2007, it quickly became a sensation, introducing terms like lifestyle design into mainstream vocabulary. The book is a radical departure from the 9-to-5 grind and challenges the conventional idea that you must wait until retirement to enjoy life. Ferriss shares how he left a high-stress job by building an online supplements business that ran largely on autopilot. He details how outsourcing, automation, and clever time management allowed him to reduce his work hours dramatically, freeing him to travel the world. He also shows readers how to use geo-arbitrage, earning income in strong currencies like the US dollar while living in places with a lower cost of living, e.g., Thailand or Argentina. This concept means your money can stretch further, affording you luxuries and lifestyle upgrades that would be difficult or expensive in your home country. Another concept Ferriss introduces is the mini-retirement, short sabbaticals, or extended breaks taken throughout your working life, not just at the end of it. Rather than slogging for 40 years to retire at 65 and enjoy what remains of your energy, Ferriss advises building pockets of freedom earlier. This might mean taking a few weeks or months off every couple of years to explore the world, learn new skills, or simply recharge. Many readers who implemented Ferriss's strategies found creative ways to transition from office jobs to remote work or entrepreneurship. One couple, for instance, turned their graphic design services into a location-independent business. By outsourcing administrative tasks and focusing on high-paying client work, they drastically reduced their own workload. Today, they travel the globe in an RV, living a life they never thought was possible in their old 9-to-5 scenario. Some critics argue that the 4-hour workweek can oversimplify certain aspects of entrepreneurship, especially around automation. Moreover, not everyone wants to start an online business, and some jobs simply don't lend themselves easily to outsourcing. Still, Ferriss's broader message resonates. Challenge the status quo, leverage digital tools, and rethink the need to trade your time for money. The book's unconventional strategies have inspired millions to break free from limiting structures and design a life that aligns with their personal definition of wealth. Ultimately, the more knowledge you acquire and apply, the better positioned you are to spot lucrative opportunities and avoid costly pitfalls. By immersing yourself in the wisdom and experiences shared by seasoned investors, thought leaders, and successful entrepreneurs, you lay a strong foundation for long-term financial success. Each of these books offers its own blueprint for building wealth. And when you integrate their principles with consistent, determined action, you can set the stage for a richer, more fulfilling life.